The book of James. Imagine a letter, not filled with complex theology, but with intensely practical wisdom for living a better, more authentic life. That's the book of James. You'll find it in the New Testament, right after the major letters of the Apostle Paul. It's placed there almost like a pivot point, taking all the deep ideas about faith and asking a crucial question. So what? How does this change the way you actually live on a Monday morning? It sits among a group called the General Epistles, letters written not to one specific church, but to a wider Christian audience, offering guidance for everyone. The letter opens with a simple greeting: James, a servant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ. For centuries, this has been associated with James, the brother of Jesus himself. Now, this James wasn't an early follower, but after an encounter with the risen Christ, he became a central pillar of the church in Jerusalem. And you can feel that leader's perspective in the writing. The voice isn't distant, it's direct, pastoral, and urgent. It repeatedly addresses the readers as my brothers and sisters, creating this feeling of a close-knit community getting some tough but loving advice from a trusted guide. And they needed that guidance.
James writes to the 12 tribes scattered among the nations. This isn't just poetic language. He's addressing Jewish followers of Jesus who had been displaced from their homes. Following the earliest persecutions in Jerusalem, many believers had to flee, losing everything: their jobs, their social standing, their homes. They were outsiders, often facing hostility from both their fellow Jews, who saw them as deserters, and from the Roman world, which viewed them with suspicion. They were dealing with poverty, injustice, and the temptation to favor the wealthy to get by. So when James talks about enduring trials, it's not an abstract idea. He's speaking directly into their real-world suffering and chaos. Because of this, the book doesn't read like a long, developing argument. It's more like a collection of concentrated wisdom, similar to the book of Proverbs in the Old Testament. It's a series of short, powerful teachings that challenge you to reflect and act. The letter opens by telling its readers to find joy in their trials, seeing them as a path to maturity. From there, it flows through different topics, almost like a guided conversation. One idea links to the next.
He'll talk about listening, which leads to a discussion about controlling your speech, which then flows into being a doer of the word, not just a hearer. And at the heart of it all are a few unforgettable themes. The most famous is the connection between faith and action. James is blunt. Faith without works is dead. For him, genuine belief is not just a mental agreement. It has to show up in your life. It looks like caring for orphans and widows, showing no favoritism to the rich, and living with integrity. He also gives a powerful warning about the tongue, comparing it to a small rudder that steers a massive ship, or a tiny spark that can burn down an entire forest. Words have creative or destructive power, and wisdom means learning how to use them. And he doesn't pull any punches about the dangers of wealth, warning that riches can rot and that God hears the cries of the exploited poor. It's a call for radical humility and justice. Ultimately, the book of James is a powerful echo of Jesus' own teachings, especially his Sermon on the Mount. It takes high ideals like love your neighbor and grounds them in everyday reality. It connects the big story of the Bible to the small choices we make: how we speak, how we treat the poor, how we face hardship. It's not just a letter to be read, but a challenge to be lived. It asks us, across the centuries, a simple, piercing question. If someone looked at your life, at your actions and your words, what would they say you truly believe?